Hey everyone, welcome back to Savi's Musings. I hope you enjoyed last week's episode. Thank you so much for your reviews and comments on my review of The Black Widow. If you haven't checked it out, you can check it out right here. Now this week I'll be talking about The Truman Show. It's an oldie but a goldie. Now the film was built on a screenplay that was written by Andrew Niccol and was directed by Peter Weir. It stars Jim Carrey in the lead role along with Ed Harris playing the antagonist Christof, Linney playing Meryl, and Natascha McElhone portraying Laurence. Now, the basic premise of the movie is how we intend to be voyeurs in a person's life. Do you ever feel uncomfortable when someone's watching something that's intimate to you, or when someone has access to something that's personal to you? Can you imagine what Truman Burbank would have felt his entire life? As I said, Truman Burbank is portrayed by Jim Carrey in one of his finest performances. He works a regular job as an insurance salesman, but his real ambition is to actually travel around the world and to explore more of what's out there beyond that small island that he's settled in. However, he's got a fear of the ocean, and it's built on a tragic incident in his past where he witnessed his father die in front of him when their boat capsized. Now one day everything comes to a head when he comes to know that there's a lot of mysterious things happening around him. Suddenly a spotlight falls from the sky and his supposedly dead father is seen begging on the street. His wife starts to speak a little strangely, so all those things begin to build a suspicion in him, and he comes to realize that his entire life has been portrayed on camera to a live audience that's seen around the world, and he is probably the most famous person in the world. He wants to escape that life, and this movie really tugs at your heartstrings, because even though we see Jim Carrey as a comedian, he somehow really portrays such an emotional character, and we really feel sympathetic towards his plight. Now Ed Harris portrays the antagonist Christof. Now Christof picked Truman out of six abandoned children, and he had a certain idea to portray a reality show where every single moment of Truman's life would be seen to the media. Every single aspect of his life, starting from his parents to the woman he's married, everything was doctored and engineered by Christof and the executive producers on the set. The people around the island, his neighbors, his best friend, all of them are actors and technicians on the set. Now, there's one person who was actually rooting for him. While he was in college, there was a woman he fell in love with, portrayed by Natascha McElhone. The woman Laurence, he met the woman at a party, but suddenly she was removed away. She was taken away from him, and his ambition is to somehow get out of that island, and reunite with her, abandoning his family. Because he feels trapped in the marriage, he feels trapped in the work that he's doing, and he wants to get out of all. The last half an hour of the movie is really heart-touching, because he finally overcomes his fear of the ocean. He travels to the bridge, he rents a boat, and he escapes that island. Christof has a brilliant idea to scare him by creating an artificial storm, trying to capsize his boat, all of it with the only intention of making sure his TRP ratings don't go down. But somehow this is where the triumph of the human spirit lies, because Truman escapes that, and he walks out of that studio. Despite the thunderstorm, despite the huge waves in the ocean, despite all these obstacles that Christof brings in front of him, Truman overcomes it, and he gets out of that studio to live his life happily. Now, this movie is seen as a comedy, but really it's actually a deep, deep tragedy. Any mental health expert would tell you that after escaping that life that Truman had lived all these years, he's definitely going to suffer from a lot of paranoia. He's going to really be wary of any person who tries to even say hello to him. He won't be able to go to a grocery store without thinking that someone's watching him. Someone's known what he did when he was 15. Every single embarrassing thing that happened to him would just keep replaying in his mind. Now, can you imagine living your entire life like that? This film Now, if you've seen Matrix trilogy, you might feel that this movie has a lot of similarities to it. The only similarity over here is that the main protagonist, Jim Carrey and Keanu Reeves, they realize that the world they're living in is artificial, and they somehow want to escape from it. While the Matrix trilogy is a science fiction with a lot of man versus machine conflict, the Truman Show is just about man's greed. Christof is not just any kind of villain. He's a regular man who just wants to become better than what he is, and he seems to think that he's given Truman everything on a silver platter. While in reality, we know that every single choice that Christof made has been artificially engineered. He's not even had even though he's had a brilliant life and everything else. It was all engineered by Christof just for the TRP ratings that he wanted, and it's really scary because today we live in a world where reality shows such as Big Boss or Keeping Up with the Kardashians air, and it's very popular where these characters' personal life is seen for everyone, and you really can't help think about Christof, who didn't have a choice in any of it, and whose entire life was on display for the world. I can't talk about this movie without mentioning the brilliant performances of its lead cast. Of course, Ed Harris, as usual, is a brilliant villain. We've seen Ed Harris in violent roles with guns and all those sort of things, but here he's a very spine-chilling villain because nowhere throughout these 30 years has Christof ever stopped to think about what he's done to this person's life. It was all about TRP ratings and making more money. It's a very and there's a lot of parallels to a lot of media moguls who rule the world today, but back then nobody even thought about it, and I'm sure all of us would have laughed it off, saying there's no way this would have been a reality. But right now, something similar to the Truman Show is a reality with so many different reality television programs. There used to be a time when reality TV was just about music and dance, but now everyone's personal life is a reality. Even you can get married on a reality TV show. That's how things have changed. There's a lot of powerful lessons for us through this movie. And if you haven't watched it, you really must try to see it at least once. Jim Carrey has done a fantastic performance as Truman Burbank. We've seen Jim Carrey in a lot of slapstick comedies with out loud characters who are larger than life. But here he's just a simple man who wants to live a simple life, but he's not allowed to do that. If you're not a big fan of Jim Carrey, I'm pretty sure that this movie would make you respect him as an actor. It's really criminal that he didn't get an Academy Award nomination for this performance, because this is probably one of his finest performances ever, in my personal opinion. Of course, Jim Carrey and Ed Harris are brilliantly supported by Linney and Natascha McElhone, but the real star of this movie is actually the script. This movie was released in 1998, and Andrew Niccol and Peter Weir did a brilliant job portraying such a reality, such a world where a person's personal life is on display for the world.
30 years ago, the Omnicam Corporation created the ultimate reality-based television experience, The Truman Show. Beginning with a child's birth, they set out to document an entire human life, every single moment broadcast live to the world. They created his hometown of Sea Haven, all of it completely enclosed within the dome of the Truman stage.
Cue the sun.
And even though the Truman Show has become an international phenomenon, Truman himself has never learned the true nature of the world around him.
It's television! Yes!
Despite some close calls. Every aspect of his life has been carefully scripted and meticulously crafted. But the one thing no one could predict was who Truman Burbank would grow up to be.
Good morning!
Morning!
Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
I hereby proclaim this planet Trumania of the Burbank Galaxy. Trumania, Trumania, I love them
This is a movie that you really should not miss out on, and it has to be. I personally feel that it's a movie that everyone should watch at one point or the other, because you start questioning a lot of things in life. You really start to sympathize and empathize with Truman Burbank. That's all for today's episode. I hope you like this show. Please like, subscribe and comment on this video. Thank you.